Hi, I thought I'd do this week's video about how I came to feel inside myself that I have autism, and also how I came to accept getting diagnosed with autism. Throughout my childhood, I always knew that I was different from most of my peers at kindergarten, primary school and daycare. I always knew there was something different about me, but back then I looked at it in a negative sense, because I'd get the occasional students who would bully me at school for my differences, and it made me feel like being different in the way that I am, it made me feel like it was a negative thing. And that made me unable to accept within myself that I had any disability like autism. But when I got into my early high school years, I slowly began to see things a little differently. Now, in mid-high school, I was struggling with my work, and I just couldn't keep up with the workload, and it all just became too much for me, and I had a nervous breakdown. And I was getting no special assistance in the class or with my schoolwork. So my parents took me for a second assessment of autism. I had my first assessment for autism when I was 6, though back then not as much was known about autism, and also the more feminine characteristics of autism. So I missed that diagnosis. But at 15, when I got assessed again, I ended up getting diagnosed with autism. But in reality, when I was diagnosed with autism, the only thing that really changed is that I got a label for my differences. That was it. And people just knew that I had autism, but within me nothing had changed, because I was born with those characteristics, and nothing had really changed for me there. But in terms of acceptance, it was a little bit different, because as I became a teenager, I learned that there's many other people living with autism and other disabilities, and they live happy, productive lives, such as Albert Einstein, whose surname has come to metaphorically mean genius. He had autism. And Bill Gates, he has autism, and Sir Richard Branson has dyslexia. And there's so many people with various disabilities who live happy, productive lives. And it makes the disability, it makes me and every other person look at being disabled in a more positive, that like there's nothing wrong with it, like it's not negative, and even in a positive way, as I was going to say. And in a later video, I'll talk about the positive aspects of having autism. And interestingly, I'll end this by saying that once, when I told someone the positives about having autism, this person who doesn't have any disabilities herself, she said to me, she goes, "You know what? I really wish that I had autism too." And that made me feel happy, because it made me realize and feel that being disabled isn't a bad thing, and that helped me feel happier inside and helped me accept the fact that I'm different from most in a more positive way.